This episode could get saucy.
And maybe a little cheesy at times.
Like most of our episodes. It's also going to be heartwarming.
Sarà delizioso. Let's go inside Trader Joe's.
I'm Tara Miller, Director of Words and Phrases and Clauses.
And I'm Matt Sloan, the Culture and Innovation Guy at Trader Joe's.
We recently had the opportunity to visit northwestern Italy and heard some wonderful family stories from Chiara and Giuseppe.
And they're cousins, the grandchildren of founders of a company that makes several Trader Joe's pasta sauces, including that Rosatella sauce.
I love that one.
And it's based on a traditional Italian family recipe.
They also make Trader Joe's Lemon Pesto sauce. And I'm so excited it's back in stores again this summer for a limited time.
That is outstanding.
And that's how our conversation began. When I told Chiara and Giuseppe, none of us had ever tasted anything like that before.
It's a true innovation.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that we like to do when we develop products is work with our suppliers to bring products that are authentic to a different culture and a different palate than Americans might be used to. The lemon pesto sauce. That was one of those things where our customers certainly hadn't tasted that. You know, we taste a lot of things that don't wind up in our stores, but our customers hadn't tasted that, and we tasted it, and we went, wow.
No, but the same happens internally. So for that product in particular, that was also a surprise because we hadn't developed anything like that before.
How did that happen if you'd never done anything like it before?
So it's a continuous back and forth of ideas and development. We have an R&D department developing recipes and also doing research with universities and so on. And then there is Trader Joe's with their requests and their ideas. So it's a collaboration work. And what came out, for example, in the case of the lemon pesto was surprising also for us. It's amazing what we can achieve with this joint development process.
I can tell you that one because I know it's only in our stores for a short period of time. I tend to buy 6 at a time, and so it's on my pantry shelf until it comes back again. I love that product.
We found out that actually it was a specific recipe from a maple art. It was an authentic local recipe.
And that one was actually a bit of a hell also production point of view and sourcing of the ingredients because it uses a specific kind of lemon zest. Yeah. So we developed the samples, everyone liked it. Then we had to source it industrially, and for some weeks we were in a panic because we were not sure we could have it in time. Everything was made specific for that product. It's a special one. The lemon zest was completely new. This area is an area that lived for many decades on agriculture. We have all the hills around us, so fruit and vegetables mainly. Our grandfather used to trade vegetables. He saw the opportunity of preserving some of those vegetables for a later use. If any of you does gardening at home, you know that there is a specific season when you have too much of it. You have like too much of those zucchini, too much of those tomatoes.
It's always zucchini. There's always too much zucchini.
With the zucchini, the first ones are like, oh my God, finally the zucchini are here. And then at the end of the season, you're like, what am I going to do with all the zucchini?
So good.
And they get wasted because that's what happens. And they're cheap to buy if you buy them from the market, from the farmers. So the opportunity is there to prevent the food waste and buy at a cheap price and be able to do some work of preservation on the ingredient and then sell it throughout the year. This is how the company started, basically. So our grandparents in the late 50s, they embarked on this ship going to the US to try and export our production. I know this story because my grandmother used to tell this story all the time when she was getting older and she was, repeating the same things over and over again. This trip to the US just stick to her head forever.
I'm picturing them with cans of asparagus, like they're shopping this around, right? Showing people.
Yeah.
That was very forward thinking of them. That must have been an incredibly challenging thing to do in the 50s, export tinned vegetables from Italy to the United States.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. For sure, they've been extremely brave. This desire to try and explore and discover, new markets, new opportunities is part of their legacy.
And so from there, how has the company evolved in that 80 years or so since they began?
During the 60s in Italy, there was the economic boom and the development of the retail. So we started producing mostly for supermarkets. So in the beginning, it was maybe the simple artichoke, but with spices or with oil and so on. And gradually this became more and more. We started to focus a lot more on the recipe. And so that's how we ended up preparing the pestos and the pasta sauces and so on, and create a product that could be flavorful and tasty.
Was there for lack of a better way to think of it, a sauce that was the first of its kind for this business?
Yeah, one thing is the peperonata, where peppers are cooked in a tomato sauce. Mm-hmm. It has big chunks of pepper. Mm. And so that was actually our first sauce with a tomato. Then we have, I think we were the first company in Italy to having developed the pesto sauce.
We're in Asti. Is pesto something that you would normally find in this region?
No, not specifically right here. Pesto is from Liguria, from Genova. And Genova is on the sea, but south from here, it's about 1.5 hour drive.
Pesto has always been a very popular recipe in South Piedmont. I remember my mama serving me pesto and maybe adding fresh tomato to the pesto sauce, making it more milder and more accessible for young kids. So everything that just happens here has a root in the tradition and the culture of our people of Italy.
The pasta sauce market used to be bigger abroad than in Italy. We started producing and selling pasta sauce abroad first, and we forgot about the Italian market because we said, but in Italy everyone is doing it at home. By the time we realized that things had changed, we had a lot of competitors in Italy doing it. But the ways of living and consuming products are changing a lot also in Italy. So people buy prepared pasta sauces, prepared side dishes, because there is less time to cook at home.
It's interesting to think about how that, if we're thinking of the idea of we're preserving the traditions, and so people have access to them, but you also then have an ability to introduce something new and to expose people to new flavors, either from different regions in this country, in Italy, or from other parts of the world. Do you ever try things that would be viewed as not Italian?
Yeah, this is a great philosophical discussion.
Yeah,
Personally, I believe that one of the most fascinating things about food and food consumption is the evolution, is the way that food shapes human history and also other way around. Human history shapes the way we eat. There are great things from the past, and there is a great way to bring them forward. Learning and introducing new ingredients into old recipes or adapting the recipes to the way the consumption is changing is fantastic. For me, it's really a way of the human being to go forward, to evolve. So yes, we have done it. So for example, it has happened to make a pesto with an ingredient. Since we did it for the UK market, they asked us if we could make coriander pesto. Coriander is not really part of the Italian cuisine. But we had the original pesto recipes with the basil and all the Italian ingredients. And we said, why not? Why shouldn't we try to move forward from what is the tradition and introduce a little newness into the recipe?
I think that perspective is so wonderful. Tomatoes came from South America.
Yeah.
Noodles came from China, most likely, thousands of years ago. But it's become sort of a national staple of Italian cuisine.
This could be the controversial part of the show.
It could be.
Where we say, where noodles started. What are we really saying?
But I think that's the really important piece of it, is that it doesn't matter where something comes from. When it's embraced by people in any area, it becomes part of the cuisine of that area, and we all share that. I think it's the way you bring people together is through the food that you eat.
Yeah.
The question is very interesting because it's one of the most important subjects of dispute within the company. So we have to decide what is the strategy of growth.
Yeah, are you a sauce company or an Italian sauce company?
Exactly.
But something similar also applied when we developed the cacio e pepe product. Mm-hmm. Cacio e pepe is a very traditional Italian seasoning for pasta. But in Italy, it's hard to find the cacio e pepe in a jar. So when we developed it for Trader Joe's, we decided to take the original Italian recipe and so use the pecorino romano cheese and pepper and make it into something that was closer to sauces in the US. So it's another brilliant example of taking authenticity and making it relevant for consumers. And
exactly. The way you go forward is you search for newness and new products towards the regional cuisine. We have different regions with different cultures, different dialects. Italy is a melting pot of culture. And so we just have to look around and search towards other regional recipe. We have thousands and thousands ideas and recipes we can search for, look for in our own country. It's amazing.
I hear that you can be authentic and still try new things.
Exactly.
They don't exclude each other. And it makes me wonder if a customer says, would you please make a pesto with bananas? And you think, oh my God.
So where is the limit?
This is, anyways, a subject of discussion with our colleagues.
And sometimes we hear people who might comment, oh, that's not how cacio e pepe must be. I love when people bring that up because it makes me think, well, at least they tried it and they're interested and they're thinking about it, they're talking about it. And so there's always room for some interpretation.
I think even if you go to different restaurants every day for a week and you ordered the same dish, right? My parents traveled to Italy for the first time, and my father was not an adventurous eater at all. He didn't like things that were new. He didn't want to try new things. The only thing he recognized on menus was bolognese, because that's very typical in America to have a bolognese sauce. So every restaurant he went to in Italy, that's what he ordered. And we all laughed at him. We're like, come on, you're in this place with beautiful, amazing food, and you ordered the same thing everywhere. And he said it tasted different in every restaurant I went to. Everyone had a different recipe. So even for something simple, it's never going to be the same if you go to different places, even if they're using similar ingredients.
It is exactly the case. Yeah. And I tell you more, the same recipe in the same region is made a different way depending on the restaurant or the village where you try it. We have a very popular food fair where all the villages gather, and there is a competition for making the best agnolotti. Each village has developed its own specific recipe, maybe just a little percentage of difference of cheese or meat, and the judges, and there's a competition, and it's also a way to keep preserving our culture.
It sounds serious. I wonder, does the same village always win? No. And then people think it's real.
No, because sometimes,
the locals know that the agnolotto from that town is better than the agnolotto from that other village.
And if you're that other village, you feel terrible. You're like, what's wrong with us?
We're trying. By the way, on a bigger scale, the same applies to industrial production. The same simple marinara sauce is different from in different producers.
Even if the ingredients are basically the same.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about many of the projects that our companies have worked on together. For our customers, people in the U.S., it's a different format for pasta sauce. It's not a giant jar. And we're used to 26 ounces of sauce for 1 pound of pasta kind of thing. And with a smaller jar that might be a more concentrated sauce and you use it differently, customers see things on the shelf, and this one is this tall and this one is that tall, and it's like, it's pasta sauce, and it's like, how do you use it? So that's been interesting for us, where it's more similar to pesto than it is to a classic tomato-based pasta sauce. It might be more normal here in Italy than it is in the U.S. because in a classic American grocery store, the pasta sauce aisle is pretty boring. The jars are almost always the same size and shape, and there's not a lot of interesting things going on there. Now, when I get back home, everyone will be mad that I said that.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Absolutely. And I think there is something special about Trader Joe's in this, because you can bring new products or new formats or new ideas, and your consumer picks it up. Your consumer is curious, wants to learn, and wants to try it. The same doesn't seem to apply everywhere.
Our customers in general are curious people. We tend to attract people to shop with us who are interested in new things. They quickly understand, oh, every week when I come here, there's new stuff. I'm going to try that new thing. I think we make it easy for people to try something new. We've gone through the process of tasting everything, so we don't have 30 of any one thing. We have one green pesto on our shelf, not a shelf full of them. We tasted a bunch, we liked that one, and that's the one we're going to sell. Same thing with everything else. in our stores. So I think we've developed a level of trust with our customers. They also know if they don't like it, they can bring it back, and that's okay.
Oh.
Which is a kind of a strange thing for a grocery store, but I mean, it really comes down to, we think of it as, don't take our word for it, please try it. And it's no problem if you don't care for it.
Come back and try something else.
Yeah.
We want you to be happy.
Some things, if we're in the store and a customer says, I've never had those crackers, oh, it's easy to open up. But a jar of sauce is maybe more challenging. But we want people to be fearless in trying things.
We feel like we've taken a lot of the risk out of it because we've tried it. We don't bring anything in unless our tasting panel really does love it.
I think it's a very correct choice because you're seeking authenticity. Selling your sauces in a smaller jar means that probably they're more, intense sauces, have more capacity of dressing and coating the pasta, which is what we eat in Italy and how we eat in Italy. I remember when we were trying to launch pesto on the USA market 15, 20 years ago, we thought about selling a larger jar or a more runny pesto, like how they were doing in America. No, product was not good, so it didn't work out. And now it's that exactly the same jar we would sell in Italy. So people travel us more, they travel to Italy, they see how we eat sauce and pasta. That's the real thing.
Yeah.
Is your business now entirely sauces? Is there still any of...
We still have the vegetables.
You do?
Yeah. We make the truffle aioli, which is a brilliant product, and I ate it last night.
You might not know, but this is the capital. Asti is the capital of the white truffle. They used to have the truffle market every morning from 4 to 7 a.m.
I'm trying to visualize, it's like a bunch of old guys with pigs standing around. Dogs. Oh, sorry. So they don't use pigs here? They use
only dogs.
I don't think they use pigs anywhere anymore. I think it's mostly dogs.
It was for black truffle.
I just watched that movie with Nicolas Cage, and he had a pig, so I don't know. Maybe I thought it was
It's difficult to stop a dog when they trace the truffle because they want to eat it.
Yeah.
You can imagine a big...
I wouldn't want to get between the pig and the truffle. I have family who are farmers, and I got thrown into the pig pen a lot when I was small. It was terrifying. They're so mean, they would bite.
Really?
Yeah, they'll bite like crazy.
They were afraid you were going to turn them into bacon.
No, my cousins were trying to kill me.
All right, we've gotten off course a little bit here, man.
That happens, yeah. Anything about the agriculture of the area? How has that changed?
Wine is taking over quite a lot, which makes sense because we make really good wine here. The Barolo, Barbaresco, Barbera, also sparkling wines, Spumante, and so on. They are made in this region. Of course, climate change is a little bit concerning also for the agricultural production. We are seeing a decrease in the production of some ingredients, such as tomatoes, for example. That's a source of concern.
Sometimes we struggle to find ingredients. Used to be Italian, and they are not Italian anymore.
And climate change has a role for sure.
We haven't even talked about Rosatella, which is my favorite.
Well, Rosatella is a unique product.
The Rosatella sauce is brilliant. I like it very much. There is a tomato base, which is a classic tomato base, and then there is that cream part that makes it more soft and rich. And that's also a recipe that is made still in many families in Italy. For example, in mine, it's a sauce that my mother used to make for gnocchi. That's how the Rosatella is born.
Is that what you would call it?
No. The name is a fantasy name, I think.
I know who came up with the name. I came up with the name because people kept, they want to say, let's call it pink sauce. Pink sauce.
That is fantastic.
I mean, I said it needs to sound like somebody's name. It needs to sound like so.
Really, you did?
Yeah.
Well done.
Usually it doesn't work.
Well done.
Usually my ideas are terrible, but I'm hoping that one sticks. So I like that sauce a lot.
It's a good sauce.
Fantastic.
I'm going to try it with gnocchi now.
The recipe is original. Again, it's something that we have done for the first time ever in our history. And the ingredients are original. The fresh milk and the fresh cream is coming in from the region, specific for the production.
Yeah, the whole thing's good. Seriously, anyone who hasn't tried it should go try it. It's good.
Can we go back and sort of
start at the start?
Start at the start?
Maybe some history of the business and the location.
We are literally in the center of the city. It's unusual for a production business, at least from the ones we've seen, to be in the center of a city.
Yes, this company has more than 80 years of history. It was created by my grandparents. Here we are close to the railway station. We are close to the city, but back then the city wasn't this big. They lived here and they created their factory next to where they lived, like starting the business in the garage where you... Mm-hmm. So that's how it started.
I lived in this place.
This was your room?
My room was over there. My bed, yeah. So I used to spare time with my parents, my grandparents a lot.
So this building where we're sitting was the family home for your grandparents?
Yeah. So this was the house where they lived.
Our grandparents, your father, my father. I was born here. So big part of our life, the business always been part of our life. In the 60s, when I was a kid, all vegetables were preserved in wooden barrels. So they had like 20 people assembling these barrels and remounting them, and iron rings to keep them together. They were banging and working one by one. The sound and the smell of this house was, what I remember the most. It was a very hard work in that time. Our parents, our grandparents, they were so busy of rebuilding Italy, rebuilding Europe. I have to say that most of the kids of my age, they were free-range kids. And they were able to go and do whatever you wanted. At that time, we had no phone, so you need to be home at 8 o'clock and your homework done. That was it. Mm-hmm. We're free.
Running free in the town.
Running free, yeah.
That sounds great.
My mom had no idea where it was.
Yeah. Yeah, for us, the phrase was latchkey kid. If you're a latchkey kid, you have like a string, like your house key on your neck. Go and open the door, come home, no one's home. It was great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Real freedom, very different from now.
Yeah.
Very different. I think the real story here is that you're both very connected to this business. It's not just a job.
No.
It's your...
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish it was. No.
It's your history.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's part of Italian culture.
Yeah,
So
but for sure we can say that things are made with passion, that's for sure.
Yeah, we get very emotional because it's something that it's part of you. Mm-hmm. It's part of your being. It's not just a business.
We had a non-typical grandmother because she found that she was working in the business, which was not so usual for a woman in the 40s in Italy.
She knew everything of the person she was going to hire. And it was like a family. You're going to be part of the family, so I want to know everything. I want to meet your parents. I want to meet your husband.
Quite a job interview.
Yeah, very much against the ideas of privacy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a different time.
But it means, it's a family business.
And I remember 6th of January, which is La Befana.
Yeah.
Which is in how do you call it?
It doesn't exist.
Which is, it's a national holiday. My grandfather used to give away prizes for the kids of the workers. So it was a big party for all the kids. And I remember there was a room downstairs with all these toys everywhere. And I was a kid. And I said, Grandpa, is that for me? No, that's not for you.
For you, nothing. Go in the street to play.
It was a celebrating day for the business and for the family. And it was an incredible day. About 6 months ago, I went to visit this new winery, and this lady was taking us around the winery, and she started crying. And she explained how when she was a kid, she was like 7 or 8, she was invited to the company because her parents were working here. And there was this old man, gave her this big teddy bear. She still has it.
Wow.
Okay.
So there is all those stories. That's a great story. You cannot take it just as a job.
It was very, very shocking. It was very emotional for her, for the people there. It was emotional for me. So.
Yeah, it makes me think about what we were saying before about authenticity. So you have to take the history, but you have to learn.
And be willing to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you need both to respect and honor the legacy and evolve and improve.
Nice.
We are so grateful for all of this time and information and conversation.
Thank you so much.
Then just
Wonderful.
very
This was great fun.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Was that conversation about pasta sauce or life?
Both, really. I mean, you can't really separate them, especially when you make pasta sauce like they do, with so much tradition and so much passion.
It's true. Those are important ingredients, things you can actually taste.
More tasteful episodes of Inside Trader Joe's are coming soon.
We try.
So make sure you get each and every one by hitting that free subscribe or follow button.
It is free and worth every penny.
Until next time, thanks for listening.
And grazie per l'ascolto.